Righto guys, welcome back to video number 5. This is it. This is where we actually start to simplify surds. So we're going to use some of the things we've seen already, and we're going to simplify our first surd. Let's say I come along and I give you the square root of 18. And I tell you that I want you to simplify this surd. I want you to simplify the square root of 18. Remember, when we look at surds, we should always be thinking square numbers. Square numbers, square numbers, square numbers, square numbers, square numbers. I see a surd, I'm thinking square numbers immediately, straight away. Okay? So when I look at 18, I need to ask myself, what square number goes into 18? So think about the square numbers. 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49, etc. So which of those square numbers goes into 18? Well, 9 goes into 18. Okay? 9 is the biggest square number that goes into 18. By goes in, I mean divides evenly into, right? So what I do then is I say that 18 is equal to the square root of 9 times 2. I write 18 as a product of a square number and whatever other factor of 18 that square number gives me, okay? So I write 18 as a product of a square number plus whatever other factor I need to make it equal up to 18. And then I make use of that rule with multiplying surds. Remember that rule? It said that's the square root of 9 times the square root of 2. Well, the square root of 9 I know. 9 is a square number, so its square root, is going to be a whole number. We've seen it already in this series of videos. So the square root of 9 is 3. So that's 3 times the square root of 2. And the way I write that is 3 root 2. So root 18 simplifies down to 3 root 2. We've just simplified our first surd. Okay, good news. Let's do another one. Let's do one that might be a little tiny bit more involved. So let's say I want to get the square root of 72. Okay, well, we've got a bit of a problem now because there's lots of square numbers that go into 72. 4 goes into 72, and 9 goes into 72. Okay, so the different 36 goes into 72. There's lots of square numbers that go into 72. When we're faced with that situation, we need to find the biggest square number that goes into our number. Okay, it's not wrong if you can't think of the biggest. You're not necessarily wrong, but your question is going to take you a few more steps to simplify. So let's pretend that we couldn't work out what the biggest square number that went into 72 was. Let's say that the biggest one that we could think of that went into 72 was 4. Okay, it's the biggest square number I can think of that goes into 72. So I come along and I say, okay, 72, I know that 4 goes into 72, and I think to myself, 4 times what? 4 times what goes into 72? Well, it's going to be 4 times 18. Okay, so you check that on your calculator. And then I use that property of multiplying of products underneath the radical sign. And I say, well, that's going to equal the square root of 4 times the square root of 18. The square root of 4 I know. The square root of 4 is 2. Then look at this square root of 18, and remember, when I'm looking at surds, I'm always thinking square numbers, square numbers, square numbers, square numbers, square numbers, always. It's always ticking away. I look at 18, I think, hang on a second. The square root of 18, I know what that is. I've seen that before, in fact, haven't I? 18 is 9 times 2. I can write 18 as a product of a square number and another number. Okay, so now I'm going to split this up. So I've got 2 times root 9 times root 2. What's root 9? Well, that's just 3. 2 times 3 root 2, and 2 times 3 is 6. So that's 6 root 2. We've simplified root 72. Now we made it hard for ourselves because we didn't take our time and think about what's the biggest square number that goes into 72. Had we taken a little bit more time and thought about it, and thought, hang on a second, 36 goes into 72. 36 is the biggest square number that goes into 72. Watch what happens then, okay? So we could have said, instead of 4 times 18, we could have said 36 times 2. And then what happens? Well, then we'd say that using our property of multiplying terms under a radical sign, we'd say that's the square root of 36 times the square root of 2. The square root of 36 is 6 times root 2, we just write it as 6 root 2. And look at that. We've saved ourselves a heck of a lot of working out, nice and simple, because we're a little bit more careful and we found the biggest square number that went into our surd. That's it for that video, guys. We'll see some work with adding and subtracting surds in our next video. You're doing really well.